Ideas matter, but institutions endure. And we thought that this year we would do things a little differently. And rather than have me come up and give you the whole overview of where Acumen is and will be, we thought it would be important to show that over 10 years we've really built an institution and have the people who are working on the ground at all parts of this organization tell that story to you. And I bet that Kate Muther and Stuart Davidson, Roberta Katz, Tae Yu, who were with me sitting around a table 11 years ago, dreaming about what could be, didn't think that they'd see something as beautiful as we're seeing today. And it's really such a tribute to this team that has made it all happen. And I couldn't be prouder of you all. So congratulations. And I also just want to give one shout out, because I'm not sure we're going to be able to do it tonight at this big celebration where I'm going to make a larger talk. But Batul Hassan and the business development team here at Acumen Fund have been staying in the office till midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, day after day after day, to bring this whole celebration over the last few days to all of us. And I want to just thank everyone for the hard work they've done, including all the presenters, because it's been just extraordinary. So thank you. So my job is to wrap up this story of Acumen Fund over the last 10 years and talk to you about the future. And I did prepare a presentation to do that, but in presenting it to the team and listening to myself, it felt incredibly flat. And the reason I think that it felt so flat is that I started to imagine all of you in this room. And I started to imagine the people that really built Acumen Fund, and that they are in this room. And then I started to look at the list and realize that you had come from 20 countries, and that you were gracing us and honoring us in ways that would be really hard to somehow give back. And so I decided that since this group, which will be very different from tonight's group, is a group where I could be intimate, where I could talk to you about my own reflections, and that the best way to do that might be to write a letter to you. As you can tell, I'm already feeling incredibly emotional at all of this, and really at all that you've given me. So bear with me, but this is really for you. This is to really tell you what we're thinking. So let me start this letter with a moment from our beginning. I was looking for office space, and the choice came down to one in Midtown, with big windows on the one hand, and a rabbit warren of offices across the street from Trinity Church near Wall Street on the other. The Midtown place was impressive and would keep us closer to the bustle. But at 74 Trinity Place, I peered out the window straight at the majestic Trinity Church, and to its left, an ancient graveyard. There was a soft rain that day, and as I looked at this tiny pocket of beauty, the church bells rang. That was it. It struck me that those old religious orders knew what they were doing. Whether the church bells ringing or the call to prayer, it reminds people repeatedly that time was passing, that all we have is this moment, and that true meaning comes from belonging to something bigger than ourselves. My decision was made. I wanted Acumen to represent intellect and drive, but also love and compassion. And while working near Ground Zero for 5 years wasn't always easy for me and the team, those bells always reminded me to stop for a moment and remember. From the start, our small group at Acumen wanted to solve problems of poverty in new and better ways. Although I don't think back then just how many pieces of the puzzle we would have to change. Of course, there were the major ones: starting a nonprofit to invest equity in loans, calling our donors partners or investors, which confused everyone, talking about failure. In retrospect, those were the easy ones. Much more difficult was the how of what we did. We committed to building local institutions in a way that didn't perpetuate the expatriate culture, one I disliked for its easy comfort and lack of accountability. We committed to hiring locally wherever we could, It meant encouraging people to work in other countries on local packages. It meant navigating Byzantine legal systems. It meant asking a lot of our local advisors, and it meant showing up. And when I think today of our community around the world, how much we owe to so many, and what it means on every level, I could not be prouder of this decision. We committed to measuring impact. At one of our earliest investor gatherings, when all of us, partners and team, could fit around a table, and every partner would be forced to share their own aha moment, our inimitable board chair, Margot, let us know how entirely unimpressed she was with our system of metrics. I know you can't imagine that. She was right, and yet we learned how incredibly difficult it is to establish a precise set of social impact measures. But we knew that if we were going to change the entire game, we needed a system more complex than profit alone. And we also knew that trite anecdotes about random people doing good things were not enough. Brian and the team, supported by Google.org, made a powerful contribution by creating our metrics platform and building new structures for the impact investing sector. And we're just getting started. We learned how much more our patient capital had to be. If we initially considered our investments to return in 5 to 7 years, we see now they can run for more than 10. The work of building markets where none existed is difficult, and it takes a long time. Yet so many people still want and believe in silver bullets, the single solution to intractable problems. And indeed, there are nights when I dream we had an easier pitch. Give us money, and we will dig a well to help 1,000 people. Give us money, and we'll build a school to help 200 children. Give us money, and we will help a worthy child get a scholarship. But we have seen too many broken down wells, too many ghost schools where teachers never show and children never learn, and there aren't enough scholarships to be the only answer. And so our pitch is to ask for money to invest in entrepreneurs, wait out the ups and downs, sometimes for many years, and hope it one day becomes a viable business where the entrepreneur might even earn a financial return for herself. That is not an easy sell, and it isn't for the faint of heart. Perhaps my own greatest aha is that the long, hard slog needed to change systems, however, is at the heart of social justice. It means we have to interact with governments and corporations in highly politicized sectors like water and healthcare and energy. It means having harder conversations than I ever could have imagined, exiting investments when we find our values misaligned with the entrepreneurs, sometimes working for hundreds of hours to turn around failing companies. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote that true compassion is more than flinging a coin at a beggar. It comes to see that an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring. Justice is more difficult than generosity, and there is no doubt that our systems of government and of capitalism need restructuring. They need renewing. And while more difficult, patient capital investing is the only way I know to support real innovation that unapologetically focuses first and foremost on serving the poor, that recognizes our systems are broken, and that experiments to find better ways to deliver critical services to those who for too long have been excluded. I have seen it in the numbers, I have seen it on the ground, and I have seen it in the faces of the people we serve. Patient capital also has captured the imagination of a generation. I meet them in every country I visit, from Norway to Uganda to Abu Dhabi to Japan. These young people want to be part of a movement for human freedom, human creativity, human dignity. Our Global Fellows Program is tapping into just the tip of the iceberg. Our Regional Fellows Program is showing the potential and power of building a diverse core of leaders across a single region. Our chapters are teaching us that we can extend our leadership curriculum to young professionals who want to change the world from where they sit. I can imagine concentric circles expanding, a community of trusted, committed individuals across the globe working in some way together toward creating a world in which all people can live with dignity. At the end of 10 years, we stand on a strong platform. $70 million invested, 86 million lives touched, 55,000 jobs, 5 industries made more accessible to the poor, 50 global fellows in a new regional program, 38 case studies, an impact investing sector that we were part of building and shaping. Every one of you in this room, as Brian said, made this happen. Every one of you should feel so proud of what you have built and supported. And we are just getting started. If our first 10 years focused on proving that patient capital works, our next decade will take the idea mainstream. We can and must do more to bring the idea of combining patient capital and moral leadership to create a more inclusive economy. We will continue to push outward, to strengthen, to expand our investments and demonstrate the potential of this approach in key countries around the world. If we thought 5 years ago that success looked like a $1 billion impact investing fund, we see now that our role is to demonstrate and inspire others to do the work with us. In the next 5 years, our goal is to grow our portfolio from 70 to 150 million, touching the lives of 150 million individuals, growing our successful investments, and expanding into new geographies where we can both bring the most and learn the most. We invest today in 8 countries, and our goal is to be in 15 by 2015. And as we think about expanding, we'd be remiss in continuing to separate the developed from the developing world. For this reason, Brian Trelstead, who has been such a partner to me these past 8 years in building Acumen's global presence, will lead an exploration of what it would take to build Acumen America. To find and finance breakthrough innovations in the United States, creating a path where government and the markets have traditionally failed the poor, and we have so much to learn from the rest of the world. We will expand our work in leadership across the globe through our global and regional fellows programs. Our dream is to see 400 young leaders across the world not only solving problems more collaboratively, but modeling a new kind of leadership, one based in moral principles, shared values, a common vision. And we will continue to invest real resources to learn at the edge, to push hard for new understanding based not on what we think we know, but on having the courage to listen, to fail, to get up and try again until we find what works. I see 2 main challenges in the next 5 years. Most of the new impact investors are established as for-profits, promising returns, many as much as 10 to 20%. This makes raising philanthropy even harder to do. And yet, especially when talking about early-stage innovations focused on the poor, funds like Acumen, backed with philanthropy, are critical. We need to continue to make our decisions based first on impact, and then we must ensure that our investments are sustainable. We are thus exploring different kinds of capital for different kinds of innovation, but will remain always true to the values as we navigate this tricky terrain. Secondly, as we grow globally, I promise you that I will focus ever more vigilantly on preserving and strengthening our culture at Acumen. We know there is magic in it, and we also know how hard it is to hold while an organization grows. We're trying to build ever more independent country offices and know that what binds us must be values and relationships built on trust, for that is ultimately all we have. As we close this first chapter and look to the next, I'm filled with a mix of deep gratitude and excited anticipation. I could not be more grateful for all we have learned together. Who knew we'd come to know so much about drip irrigation and artificial insemination of dairy cows, Islamic financing and Indian regulation, non-surgical male circumcision devices, reverse osmosis, or hybrid seed production. I am grateful for more memories than I can count, holding a newborn baby in a bright pink room at LifeSpring, surrounded by a score of new mothers. Watching tribal women get their eyes tested by Vision Spring and seeing the looks on their faces when they could again thread a needle. Feeling I was standing on sacred ground in Mama Hamza's community center in Kibera, talking to low-income residents about, well, everything. And walking with Dr. Venkataswamy early in the morning, talking about how for him, God exists in those places where everything living, human and otherwise, is interconnected. The gifts are countless. Every conversation, every new investment, every face I meet. And that goes not only for the low-income people we serve, but every one of you in this extraordinary community around the world. So here goes. Thank you. Thank you for teaching me about our sectors, our regions, and how to communicate and build an organization. Thank you for the thousands of hours you have given us through legal and consulting services, providing coaching and mentoring to our team, bringing in the occasional sushi lunch, giving us a hand across every nation in which we do our work. Thank you for opening your homes to us and your offices, for giving us your financial support and introducing us to your friends. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for being honest with us when we misstep and for helping us to strengthen whatever we are doing, whether it is our investment processes, how we measure impact, how we analyze an entrepreneur working in a remote area of the country. Thank you for being the smartest, biggest, hardest group of people I have ever known. Thank you for believing and for putting yourselves behind that belief. Thank you mostly for your love. When the story of Acumen is finally written, I have a hunch it will ultimately be a story of community, of people coming together across so many lines of difference to bring what they could, whatever it was, from each and every one of them to change the world. So here's to the continued journey. I plan to be on it for a very, very long time, so keep your seatbelts on. Thank you.